Hello YouTube, welcome back to the channel. Hopefully you are doing well. We are here, it's game week 4. The deadline is happening very soon if you're watching this when this drops. Hopefully you have the notifications on so that you're getting this video just before the deadline. But as you can see on the screen, we've got my best game week 4 transfer targets for you guys. If you're struggling to make some decisions at the deadline, these are the types of players I would be looking for. If you already own Mohamed Salah, that's kind of the caveat in this. If you don't own Mo Salah, and if you can get there in one move, I'd be recommending it. But if you are desperate for a cheap striker, midfielder, or a defender, this is where I would be looking. We are going to take a deep dive into a few of these options. But what we've got on the screen just is their goals, expected goals, assists, expected assist points, expected points, percentage of goal involvement, which I've got highlighted because I want to talk about that in a second, big chances, and their total shots. So what percentage of goal involvement means is the percentage of goals that this player is directly responsible for. Now, whether that is goals scored or goals assisted. So if you're looking at that list there and you can see that Johan Wissa is 60% involved in the goals, then you can see that he's a very involved player for Brentford. The only other player I've missed off here is Bryan Mbeumo as well. I think you could definitely mount a case for him versus Luis Diaz, but in my mind, the reason why I've got Luis Diaz is this is more focused over the next 2 fixtures, in particular for Luis Diaz. Otherwise, you'd be going for Bryan Mbeumo. So what we'll do is we'll kick it off. Well, actually, the big decision that we need to make is the first player we're going to look at is João Pedro, but I made this graphic before some concerns around his fitness. So again, if you're looking at João Pedro, you'd want him more longer term, then I'd go João Pedro. If you're looking at a striker for the next 2 weeks, and then you're going to wildcard in game week 6, potentially look at Danny Welbeck, because I'm not sure if João Pedro is going to start. But here is João Pedro's data, is a bit more deep of a dive. 2 goals, 0.86 expected goals with no assists. Again, 0.29 XA isn't the worst for João Pedro as well. Again, he does spend a little bit of time in that number 10 before Danny Welbeck comes off. 18 points through an expected points of 11.6. 33% goal involvement for João Pedro as well. And 3 of his 5 shots have been on target. Now, what the data doesn't show for João Pedro is his penalty threat as well. His minutes have been brilliant. He's been playing upwards of 88 minutes across the 3 games. I love João Pedro as a pick. I'm very jealous of people that have João Pedro. I have Muniz in my team, and I'd much rather have João Pedro. Now, if I'm going to be picking a 5.7, 5.5 million striker for the rest of the season, it is guaranteed I would be taking João Pedro. Minutes locked in at the moment. I know Evan Ferguson played for Ireland in the international break as well, but João Pedro is just a brilliant asset, and with Ipswich, Nottingham Forest, and I still think Chelsea and Tottenham are still good fixtures. I know the tickers got them as not as easy fixtures, but I still think there's goals there for João Pedro. I would just temper my expectations this week, in particular for João Pedro, because you don't know. He's coming back from Paraguay. I think he played for Brazil on Wednesday. So, you know, just be mindful that if he starts, he may come off after 60 minutes. Brighton do have asset there up front, but so far it looks like Hertzler really is relying on João Pedro to be his main talisman, whether that be in the 10 or up front. Then I've gone with Johan Wissa. This could easily be Bryan Mbeumo. Again, they're very different. So I just wanted to provide a different striker option, mainly for people that already own João Pedro. Okay, you might have Isaac Haaland, João Pedro, or you might have a Muniz like I do. Johan Wissa, I think we say it every year, he's just a fantastic asset, but no one really ever owns him because of the threat of Ivan Toney. We now know that Ivan Toney is not going to be around. What I like about Wissa is in big games, he'll play up front in a 2, typically with Bryan Mbeumo, and then in games where they dominate, he should be up front with the 2 wingers either side. Now, Wissa's minutes aren't perfect, so that's something to be by and beware with, because he will typically come off around the 75th to 80th minute, and we know how prevalent goals are later in games as well. But his data is fantastic. 2 goals from 2 expected goals and assists from 0.27 expected assists, and he's involved in 60% of Brentford's goals. And you'll see Bryan Mbeumo, his data is pretty similar to that as well. Wissa and Mbeumo typically are who are involved in Brentford's goals. If you think Brentford are going to score goals, particularly in game week 6 and 7, I can bet your bottom dollar that it's going to involve Wissa or Mbeumo. So I think for 6.1 million at 7% owned, fantastic differential option for your teams. Potentially wouldn't be buying him this week. You'd want to hold off. I could see people wanting to buy him next week against Tottenham, but then really attacking the fixtures in game week 6. The last player I want to touch on before I look at my team is Rico Lewis. Now, the goals haven't been there, but he's got 0.75 XG. A lot of that was from the Ipswich game where he rocketed one off the crossbar, and he's got 1 assist there as well. But he's playing more as a midfielder than he is as a fullback at 4.7 million at 10% owned. Fantastic option if you are on a game week 4 wildcard, because you can plan your team to have 5 defenders, and if things go wrong like it did with Gw4, you wouldn't have to be pressured into that sale. Again, you're talking about a 4.7 option that's playing for Man City. Pep Roulette's going to be a thing. Will he start the rest of the season? No, he's not going to start the next 35 games. But with the way that he's playing at the moment, you just need to roll the dice, I think, with Rico Lewis. He's the most attacking of the 4.5s. He's going with Leif Davis with attacking data, and he's also got the clean sheet potential there with Man City. The big stat for me is he's leading all defenders with touches inside the penalty box. He's had 18 touches inside the penalty box through 3 games. That is stupid numbers of good. And when you've got Brentford at home and Fulham at home in 2 out of your next 4 games, I think there's going to be some returns there for Rico Lewis. I don't have him because I am trying to get to game week 6 wildcard. The fixtures don't look amazing for Rico Lewis around that time, but I think if he even is at 4.8 by that point, he's going to be someone that I definitely consider on a game week 6 wildcard as an enabler to get into the Man City defence. If you desperately need a defender now, if you haven't moved on a Gw4, if you've got injuries or you've got other problems in your defence, I don't mind taking a short-term punt on Rico Lewis if you know you've got your wild card there to get out of jail just in case things go the wrong way. But so far, we've been pretty lucky, I think, to avoid a big, 15-point haul from a Rico Lewis, and I could definitely see that coming today against Brentford. So before I let you guys go, this is my side at the moment. 92% team ratings, come down a little bit because Haaland's data's been adjusted. He was at 8.7 predicted points, but with the news of the passing of a close friend of his, that has come in to 6.8. 10 home fixtures out of 11, and the only away fixture in my starting 11 is Isaac at Wolves away, which should have goals in it. One transfer for me this week, I had enough money in the bank to go Bukayo Saka to Mohamed Salah. So I've got the captaincy dilemma of Salah versus Haaland. I'm still going to keep it on Haaland. If in whatever case Haaland doesn't play, which I really doubt, then Haaland will come off for Robinson, and then Salah becomes my captain. And I just can't see a world where Haaland comes on for a 1-pointer. So I'm going to roll it with Haaland. Hopefully he's inspired to play well at home to Brentford today and bag himself his 3rd consecutive hat-trick. Happy with where the team's at so far. Dunk, Konsa, Trent, Salah, Eze, Jota, Rogers, Muniz, Isaac, Haaland with Henderson in goal. Just going to try to limp my way to a game week 6 wildcard. We're sitting at 2.1 million rank overall, so not the best in terms of our rank, but that is my side. If you've enjoyed the video, make sure you smash a thumbs up on the video, and I'll see you guys next week for some more game week 5 content.